Welcome back to Hardball and to sheer politics. Today, John McCain got a challenger for his Arizona Senate seat from his own party. Chris Simcox is founder of the Minuteman Civil Defense Corps, and today called McCain soft on immigration. Moderate Republican Senator Arlen Specter is being challenged right now in the Pennsylvania primary next year by Pat Toomey, who ran against him 6 years ago. He's the former president of the conservative group Club for Growth. So is this the way back for power for Republicans? Joining me right now is Bobby Terrell of the American Spectator. Haven't seen Bob in forever. And Republican strategist Mark McKinnon, who's a contributor to the Daily Beast. But that's scary. Let me go. Bob Terrell, your thoughts. I mean, are these just regular primary challenges? I would expect that Toomey's more of a threat to Specter than Simcox or whatever his name is to McCain. What's your thought?
Well, first of all, I want to wish you Happy Earth Day, Chris.
Okay.
I think that this is somewhat to be expected. Toomey, of course, did well last time around in his challenge, and he'll probably do well this time. I think Simcox is really from far out, and I don't think he's going to give McCain a very hard time.
Do you see this as a pattern of the Republican Party into some kind of purge? I mean, I'm from Pennsylvania. I know the politics up there, obviously, and I wonder whether there's a Republican, almost a last of the Mohicans thing going on in the northern part of the country. You look at people like pretty good candidates like John Sununu losing. Before that, Link Chafee losing. You wonder whether the moderates are getting wiped off the map, and is that a good thing for the Republican Party?
Well, Chris, you got to look at the whole game. You got to look at all that's going on right now. The Republican Party is about where it was in 1992 nationally, and in 1994, look where it came back to, a trouncing victory over the Democrats. What will decide, to a large degree, the life of or the strength, the vigor of this party for the elections in 2 years from now is the performance of the President of the United States. Yeah. And right now, some of the things he's doing, which are so risky with the economy, suggest to me we're going to have a huge inflation. Taxes are rising all over the country. And in foreign policy, after his world tour this month, I think that you could have foreign policy problems all over the world.
I think, by the way, Bob, I think he wants to inflate the economy. We can talk about that in another show. Let me go right now to Mark McKinnon. I'll go back to my question. Can the Republican Party afford to lose people like Gordon Smith in Oregon, John Sununu up in New Hampshire? Can it afford to only have 1 or 2 senators in the Northeast? Can you build a party in the South and somewhere in the West? Is that enough of a base for a national political party? Mark McKinnon.
No, it's not. The Republicans have got to expand the base, and we need strong senators like that and those in the Northeast that we're losing. George Bush attracted conservative Democrats and independents like me with a compassionate conservative message on issues like education reform and immigration reform. We've got to have an immigrant-friendly message. We've got to expand the tent, but if we don't get a message out there that attracts growing demographics like Hispanics, then we're going to be out of power for a long time, not just at the federal level, but at the local and state level as well.
You say the same thing, Mark, about gay rights and gay marriage. Do you think the Republican Party, given who's in it, could ever go along with a gay-friendly, as you put it in one of your notes today, point of view?
I think we've got to. I think in many ways it's the civil rights issue of this decade and looking forward. I was glad to see my old friend Steve Schmidt step out on that issue, and I think increasingly we'll see more Republicans do that. The Republicans have got to, we can't just revert to old mantras from the Reagan days. There's got to be new messages, new faces, and we've got to talk in different language in order to attract new people and expand the tent if we ever expect to be in the majority again.
Bob? Your thought on that tricky question, because we all know that the 2004 election, at least in Ohio, turned on the issue of the same-sex vote out there in terms of that initiative. It did help the Republicans get a large African-American vote up in Cleveland. It can be pivotal. Is it essential to the party to stay hard against gay marriage, same-sex marriage? To you, Bob.
Well, I think it's essential for the party. Frankly, as I say, no, I don't think that's the most important issue. I think the most important issues are the economic issues. And what Mark refers to as old Reaganite mantras, as a matter of fact, are very solid political or economic policies that led to 25 years of growth in this country. And this economic slowdown has in no way had anything to do with the validity of cutting taxes, fiscal responsibility, economic growth.
But if you can you imagine a political party, Mark, you first, it's Goldwater-esque in the last era of Goldwater, meaning libertarian, less government, period. Can you sell that with the religious right? Or they'll say, no, we want to be orthodox here. We don't like abortion. We don't like stem cell. We don't like same sex. We will not be in your party if you don't champion those causes.
Well, listen, I think unless there's a degree of tolerance within the Republican Party and a willingness to expand on the foundation of the Reagan message, I agree with Bob. Listen, the Reagan mantra is built this party, built this economy, built a strong economy, and I think we do need to return the fiscal fundamentals to the Reagan foundation. But we've got to grow and we've got to expand beyond that. If we don't grow beyond that particular message, we're going to keep the base right where it is, and we'll be in the minority.
Well, let's look at something that will remind us all of our Goldwater roots, including mine, including Hillary Clinton's. Here's Barry Goldwater back in '64 at the San Francisco Republican Convention, back when San Francisco Democrat wasn't a code word for the bad guys. Here it is, '64 convention with Goldwater talking.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice. And let me remind you also that moderation in the pursuit of justice is no virtue.
Bob Terrell, what did you think of that then? What do you think about it now?
Well, I thought it was lovely poetry then. I think it's lovely poetry now. But you have to remember that he was speaking for a kind of cutting-edge point of view, what was then called the New Right. And his views were the building blocks on which Ronald Reagan built his 4 years, the age of Reagan, as the historians now call it. So I think it's kind of antique to bring it up, Chris.
Well, it's fun. I'm
not embarrassed about it.
Not me either.
I'm not
you know
embarrassed
what?
about it.
I brought it up for one reason, because people here remind me that cost the Republicans 44 states, that election. That's all. Your thoughts, Mark McKinnon? I liked it. I thought it was charming, and it is antique. But Goldwater got 6 states, and they were basically Dixie states for perhaps the wrong reasons, by the way, on the civil rights front. That he may have agreed with them, but he didn't agree with their purposes. And getting Arizona, 6 states they picked up with that anthem. What do you make of it, Mark?
Listen, I think antiques are great, but we ought to leave them in the museum. Although I will say that, sort of that Southwest libertarianism, there's a strong streak of that out there right now, and I think the Republican Party would do well to look at that, and some of the populist fervor that we're seeing right now, I think, has a strong libertarian streak. So I think as Republicans look to expand the tent and the circle, that we do well to keep an eye on that libertarian.
Gentlemen, you know who paid tribute to that Southwestern streak of libertarianism, the Ron Paul streak today? Hillary Rodham Clinton, the Secretary of State, today in Senate testimony, House testimony, congratulated Ron Paul for having the most passionate group of followers in the 2008 election. I would argue that perhaps Barack had a few passionarios as well, but isn't that funny? Bob Terrell, you're right, it's antique. Call me old-fashioned. Mark McKinnon, thank you. Bob, it's good to see you again.